This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. If you're like me, someone who gets stuck in their head a lot, BetterHelp might be the answer. And right now, if you visit betterhelp.com/sold-separately or use the link in this video's description, you can get 10% off your first month. So give it a try. Remember, you can't take care of anyone else in your life until you take care of yourself.
And now, on with the show.
So my name is Chip Leighton, and my happiness is my family and spending time outside.
Okay, well, welcome everybody. Welcome back, Chip. Thank you so much for coming back on with us.
Thanks. Oh, happy to be here. I enjoyed our last conversation, so looking forward to this one too.
Yeah, we're here to talk more cringy things about dads, right? How we're cringy.
Exactly.
You are a best-selling author, I guess, but if you talk to your kids, they may say that everybody's called that. That's what they call everybody. I saw that in the book. But no, the book is super funny. It's I think it's so funny because we can all relate, right? I mean, we've all been there. I think we just kind of live in that cringy zone, I think, sometimes to our kids. But yeah, it's true. It's funny because it is so true. And I especially love the part about the caution on emojis because I think those are very dangerous sometimes, depending on how you use them. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. So the book's called Dad, Could You Not? And the subtitle is A Dad's Guide to Being Less Cringy. So there's a lot of advice in the book and drawn from my experience and other dads that share stuff with me. And I've got a section on texting and emojis and the ones that trip up dads, I think the most is they think that crying, laughing face is like a sad face, So it'll be like, oh, your grandmother's in the hospital. Then they'll put that laughing emoji in there. It's like, that's not the right tone you want to be setting.
Yeah, no. And there's some other ones that are, you don't want to ever use. There's a cautionary tale on those, but you've built this career out of being, I guess you call it the cringy dad, but I think, we've all skated that cringy territory. Is there a line, do you think, between humor and actually wanting our kids to respect us? Do you ever think about that?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. I don't think I found it yet, but no. I mean, obviously there is a line somewhere, but I think, my kids are pretty sarcastic, and I think a lot of kids of this generation are, and I think that's good. I think it's a sign of intelligence, honestly, and I think the fact that kids feel comfortable joking around with you, I think that's a sign that you have a good relationship. I've heard from a lot of people that are grew up when I did, that are like, oh, I wish I could have had this kind of relationship with my dad where we could have joked around. He wasn't open to that. It was just, it had to be more serious. And so I think it's a good thing. Of course, it could go too far if there's a total lack of respect, but I don't think that's the case in the vast majority of instances. But yeah, my kids, they keep me humble. Yeah, you were referencing it at the top, but when my first book became a New York Times bestseller, I told my daughter, and she was like, every book says that. I'm like, I don't think so.
That's just something they tell you. Yeah,
right. It probably does seem like that, but yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of work behind that, though. Actually, it goes on. But I think, and that may be one way that I think we kind of step in their world a little bit. I think that's why the connection's there, don't you think? That we're able to joke around with them, kind of on, even though we may. I think sometimes as dads, we take on that role of being the goof of the family, or just like, oh, dad, that kind of thing. Yeah. But I think it's kind of like, I don't know, it's not our place, but everybody, there's this, if you have a good relationship with your kids, I think they always like to pick on you and joke around. I just think that's kind of that dynamic, Yeah.
No, I think that's right. As I've told some people, I'm writing this book, it's a dad's guide to being less cringy. I've had some dads be like, well, why would I want to be less cringy? Is that's half the fun of being a dad? Why would I want to cut back on that? So there is a certain embracing of it. And I think there's a lot of people who are when they hear stories the kind of stuff that's in the book, they're like, oh, it brings back just good memories of family times and just sort of those, the things you joke around with each other about. And so I think there's something healthy about it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so too. I think I can think of things my dad, said, long ago, and just things that I thought were funny. And I think they do stick with you long after your parents are gone, or your dad specifically. I think kids will remember those times.
Yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of stories in the book where when people shared it with me, they were like, it's something that happened like, 25 years ago, and they like repeat it like weekly back to him. Like, I think of this guy, he's like, when the kids were young, they had balloons. He was like, balloons are a huge responsibility. And like they repeat it back to him, like, decades later, like every time they see a balloon. So it's stuff like that sticks.
Balloons are serious. Don't mess with balloons.
Right.
For people who don't know, you left a pretty stable career in your 50s in the corporate career. Looking back on that, when you first did it, was that bravery, do you think, or was there a moment that you said, have I messed everything up here? This, because social media and all that is so unstable, and you really have to, as we were talking about, you really have to work to and it takes a while. It's not going to happen overnight. Did you ever have regrets beginning or?
Never regrets, but I will say I was pretty careful about it. I mean, I started this whole thing when I was like 50, and I was working full time, very much a full time job and a successful career. And I did both for a couple of years, just doing the fun stuff on nights and weekends, and it was a lot. And I at some point I decided if I really wanted to see where the potential of it was, I would have to kind of leave the day job. And at the time I was thinking about writing a book, and I knew I wouldn't be able to write a book at the same time. And so I kind of tentatively decided on it, but I waited. I probably worked for like almost a full year after I kind of wanted to leave, just to like bankroll a little bit more savings and make sure that the platform was still vibrant, and just make sure the decision just still felt right. So I was pretty patient and thoughtful about it, but it still is like a big deal when you leave, and you're leaving a big paycheck. And I've been fortunate that it's worked out really well. And I think you got to, as a like independent like creator, you have to like diversify your income streams. And so I have, some stuff from social media, but the books, and I do some live events and merchandise and other stuff that kind of helps. Because it's, there's ebbs and flows where it's, you're hotter at certain times than other times. So it's not. In some ways it's a little easier for me because I'd started this like toward the end of my career, where I'd already we'd saved a lot toward retirement, and I didn't need to like strike it rich and do this for the next 30 years or something. It's more of like, hey, if I can do this for several years, kind of as a bridge to a fuller retirement, it'd be a great second chapter and just a fun change. And it absolutely has been. I'm very, very lucky.
Yeah, that's and what you're saying about diversifying, I think that's key too, because you don't want to put all your eggs in that basket and think, okay, it's all going to have to come from online and being on social media. But there's so many ways you can branch that off, and like you said, the live events I'm sure are huge, and the book sales. Do you have any advice for somebody who, and this is something else I think about, do you ever worry about somebody that sees your content and then tries to steal it or market it into their own? Do you ever worry about that? And then for somebody that is creating and trying to make it, what would you say? What's your advice? Just consistency, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, just in terms of like, stealing or whatever. I mean, I think these platforms are such that creators inspire one another. So I think it's fine and it's good that like, hey, someone else shares their own kids' teenage texts on their own channel or whatever. That's great, and for a while, like when I first started that whole genre of teenager texts, like there were like hundreds of people doing it, which is great. There are times when like there are accounts that literally steal your videos and post them as their own. Like there's currently somebody on Facebook doing that. I've reported it and had other people report it. They just haven't done anything about it, but it's literally just ripping off my videos. And some people think it's my account, but it's not. So there are some like true like instances of that, but not not a lot of it. I don't think. It's more of just you inspire one another and you do similar things. And then I forgot the second part of your question.
Just for anybody that may be, out there struggling and saying, "Oh, I'm putting this out, nobody's looking at it." I mean, is it just a matter of consistency? Yeah,
I mean, at first I'd say like I'm not, even though I've had success, I'm not a social media expert, and some of what I found works may not work for other people. But I tell the story of when I started out, I was posting for like 6 months originally on TikTok, and like it wasn't going well. I had 17 followers after 6 months, and I was just doing like weird, quirky, funny stuff that didn't kind of land. And then when I started posting stuff about my own family, like I did some marriage stuff and my first teenager tech stuff, and that stuff like took off right away. And I kind of realized like, oh, I got to post about my own life, and there's plenty of people out there that relate to it. And that's kind of what it turned into, is like all these people are like, oh my gosh, did you take these text from my kid's phone, or did you overhear my husband saying something or whatever? And so that's what it is. So I think you gotta keep trying, and you have to keep trying new stuff, and most of it's not going to work, but eventually, something might really land. And then when it does, I do think consistency is helpful, because when you do start to gain a following, people kind of know you for a certain thing and want to hear you do a certain thing. And while that can box you in to some extent, it's also helpful, and especially since online, I'm most known for the teenager texts. And so I get a lot of comments from people like, oh, I know when you pop up in my feed, it's one of those, I know it's going to be good. They never disappoint. Yeah. And so I take a lot of pride in that consistency and making sure that I'm not watering it down too much and only posting like what I feel like is really good content. So, yeah. But so for me, it's like, I've always defaulted to like quality over quantity. So most of the social media advice out there is like, oh, post every day, post multiple times a day, 5 times a day. And I've never done that. And that wouldn't have worked for me. I wouldn't have been able to. And also I don't think it would have been the right advice for me. Cause like I said, I think I could do like a teenager text post every single day and they'd be pretty good, but not great. But if I do them once a week, I know that each one's going to be great because I'm going to just use the best of the best. So, but that's me. And I'm very careful to say like, you got to figure out what works best for you and your audience and follow that path.
Do you stick to a calendar per se, like every Wednesday at 9, I'm going to have a...
No, I'm not nearly that disciplined. I have a book, because I have the book come out. I'm more disciplined in this period of making sure I've got like a robust, set of content that's going to be, help make people aware of the book. And so at times like this, I'm a little bit more like that, but in general, I'm a little looser with it. And I'm usually behind and not posting as much as I would really like. And you go through waves of where you're like enthusiastic and you've got a lot of ideas. And then there's other times when it's like, oh man, I've been doing this for several years now, and I'm getting a little tired of it. I just don't feel like being out there. And so there's ups and downs to it, but I all I have to do is like look back at like some of the comments people share with me around like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. You always bring a smile to my face, or, like never stop doing this. And it's those kind of moments where I'm like, okay, this is definitely worth doing, and people appreciate it.
Yeah, that's kind of the gas in your tank, right? You see those and you're like, okay, this is I'm doing something here that's hitting home with some people. So that keeps you going. Your kids, of course, roast you in the book. Is there one thing that they've actually said to you that stuck with you long after the joke landed?
So the book's got like at the beginning of each chapter is like a mini roast from the kids of me, and there's like it's kind of a mock forward in the beginning that kind of like roasts me and sets up the book. I'll read like 2 sentences of it just to give people a sense of what you're talking about here. So this is from the forward. Of course, given his job, our dad is even cringier than the rest of you. He literally mortgaged our future so he could be an influencer. Quit a solid paying corporate job in your 50s so you can film insufferable TikToks in a pathetic attempt to gain clout? Sign me up, he said. Trust us, dignified is not the word that comes to mind when witnessing a grown man sitting in front of a ring light pointing in the air at nothing. So it's
nothing but love there. Yeah.
Right. And I mean, they didn't technically write the forward, but I drew on lots of quotes from them that they have shared with me. So they've both got a great sense of humor and like I said, keep me humble, and I'm not sure if there's anything like profound I've taken from that other than just like I said before. I think I don't know. I think it's a good dynamic, and I think it's good that kids feel comfortable being able to joke around.
Yeah. It goes back to what we were saying earlier. I think it's so important, and it's one of those things like you want to be able to kind of connect with him on that level, because as dads, I think if we have to play the folly, I guess that's just part of our job, maybe that we have to be made fun of or goofed on. But do you think as dads, we actually know how to connect with kids, or do you think we're just all trying to try things and hope we don't screw it up? in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's different, I guess. And, I think the best advice I got, it was like at a baby shower before our first kid, but someone said like, there's no one right way to raise a kid. There's only a right way to raise your kid, because they all need something different. And I found that to be totally true. My two kids are very different from one another. And you can't read a book and know exactly how to connect with them or what, how to raise them. And so I think it's just about, being present and like knowing them, and you do know them because you spend so much time around them, and just like giving them what they need and want that's specific to them. And so there's no rules to that, but I don't know. You figure it out as you go, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's so true. There is no manual to parenting, and you are just kind of winging it. And hopefully, pass down wisdom to our kids to, maybe they take with them when they're raising their kids. But the book itself is basically kind of a guide of what not to do, I guess, as a dad. But is there I was just curious, is there a dad fail that seemed funny on paper, but really felt kind of awful in real life? Something that maybe hits home?
Not really. I mean, if I had some of those, I probably wouldn't include them, because I do like to, with all my humor, whether it's teenagers or dads, like I don't want anyone to look bad. I'm not trying to make fun of kids or criticize parents.
Right.
And I often don't know the full story behind it. Like one of them might fall into this category, I guess. But like there was a guy who he forgot his kid at like a rest stop for like 2 hours. And when he drove back, his defense was that he was distracted by the Charleston chew he bought. So it's, it's not, I mean, those are kind of those are kind of a project to eat. I will say that. But so yeah, the book is like, I call it like an anti-handbook, because as you say, it's full of like hundreds of stories of what not to do. It's like there's a dad who he ate an entire bowl of Thousand Island dressing because he thought it was soup. It's
yes,
that sort of stuff.
One, I think it was yours where that you actually did. I can relate to is when you think you're going forward, or you're actually going back, and everybody freaks out in the car, like what, like you're just high on drugs or something, like
right. I was parked at a rest stop, and like the car next to you starts to back out of its spot.
Yes,
I thought our car was like rolling forwards. I'm slamming on the brakes, grabbing the wheel, looking like an idiot. And, it's not, but it's not just me, because when I shared that one online, I heard from all these people in these different situations. I actually heard from an airline pilot who's like, "Oh yeah, that happens all the time in the cockpit." I was like, "What?"
Whoa!
So I wish I didn't know that, but
yeah, please don't tell me that. Oh my gosh,
probably flies for Spirit.
Higher stakes. Yeah, me too. Oh my gosh. Did you ever worry early on at like sharing these stories? Did you ever freak your family out? We're like, oh my gosh, you're going to put our privacy out there. Did it take them some time to get used to that or to get signed on?
I mean, it's funny because, it did start out with me sharing like funny texts from my kids and some marriage stuff as well. But like pretty soon it evolved into this thing where everyone else is sending me theirs. And that's like almost all of what I feature now is other people's stuff. So like people do they kind of feel like they know my family, even though like I've never shown a picture of my kid online. And so it's a little bit, I actually haven't shared all that much, but I think early on when I did it, like I think my daughter, like a lot of texts from her kind of got a kick out of it. And she was like, more involved with it over time. And the feedback I got, like, this was maybe like a year or two ago, like probably the strongest feedback was like, Dad, you got to make it much clearer. These are not all our texts, because like my friends, think I'm an idiot. They think I'm sending like all these texts. I'm like, I try to make it pretty clear, but so there's that, I guess. Yeah.
You got to make sure, because you do take things from people that you kind of collect, right? Because it's not all just things that it's other. What I love is when you do share some of those online, and it's so, what's so funny is that no matter what the details are, it's like those moments that we've all been there, where we do something stupid or we get something wrong, and it's, then it's everybody just seems to be like a bunch of jackals on top of us because we made a mistake.
Right.
It's in life as being a dad. But I think that goes to the bigger community and what we're all just trying to figure it out and raise our kids and connect. And do you think there's anything as dads maybe that we get wrong about being, people talk about being present all the time. And I think this is a way that we're kind of present all the time with our kids because we're joking and we talk about how important that is. But you think there's anything that we get wrong about that, about being present?
I mean, well, it's an interesting dynamic because like a lot of the funny texts from teenagers I feature are all about like not wanting their parents to show up and stuff. You know, like there's a famous one is, please don't come to graduation. There won't be any other parents there. It's like, I find that hard to believe.
Stay away.
Right. So there's definitely a theme of like parents want to be present and the kids don't want them present. And I remember that from when I was a kid. It was the same kind of dynamic. But I think and I think you could take that overboard and show up when you probably shouldn't be there. But in general, I think, you know, a lot of parenting is just being there and just showing up. And like I don't think kids listen to what you say all that much. Honestly, I think they pay attention to what you do. And so if you're around and in their lives and you're a good person, I think they're probably going to turn out just okay, just fine, you know? And I don't know. I tell parents to not like try to overthink it and like, you know, be constantly giving speeches about this or that. Cause I just, I don't know. Maybe that's just my parenting style. I'm not, I'm kind of an introvert in general. And so I'm not like a huge talker, but I think, I just think you're, if your kids grow up knowing that you're in their life and you love them and you're there to support them like that, I think that's like 99% of what you got to do.
I agree. And I think if you're planting that seed where you're interacting with them, whether it be joking around or text or whatever, they know that if there's something going down, they can come to you because you've right. opened that door. You're not, it's not like you're totally away from them in a room somewhere at night. Like you're there, you're in their lives. So there's a certain connection there, a bond, I think, that comes about with humor or with just joking around in general. I think that kind of lightens the mood a little bit, and kids know they're attracted to that, and they know that, okay, my dad, I can go to him about this because even though we joke around, I know he's open to helping me out with things. Yeah. Yeah.
I always think of that line from that song. It's hold on loosely, but don't let go. It's like, I think about that for parenting. It's like you don't want to be limiting them or suffocating them, but like you want to be holding on just enough so that like if they need you, like you're there, and they almost don't know you were there, but or you were like, you know, waiting for them to fail or something like that. But it's you gotta they don't want to be held tightly, but they want to know that you're there when they need them, when they need you.
Exactly. And it's so hard. We've got an adult child now, it's in his 20s, an adult on paper, but it's hard. It's hard because you really have to walk that line then, because they're out getting married and they're doing their life, and you want to be there, but you also want them to experience life and have those little, not that you want your kids to fail, but you want them to kind of figure it out, be able to figure it out on their own.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's honestly a discussion that my wife and I have had a lot over the years of, like she's a little more, her tendency is a little more to like do stuff for the kids. And I'm a little more like, let's let them do it for themselves. And there's no, you know, it's a balance. There's no right answer, but I read a book when our son was young. I think it's called How to Raise an Adult. And it was all about like, you're not raising a kid, you're raising someone to be an adult. So you want to raise them to be independent, like from a pretty early age. And so, and that involves, you know, sort of holding your breath a little bit and letting them succeed or fail. But then the good thing now is that because of technology, you know, you're connected just at a moment's notice with a text or something. Whereas, you know, when I was growing up and I went to college or you know, after college, like, I you know, maybe once a week or something, I would, you know, talk to a parent, but like not, we weren't as connected for like little questions or little situations. And so I think that's a really good thing today.
Yeah, no, me too. And I think we came from the same generation that our parents, you know, it was that whole thing where you're out in the summer and you don't go back home until it gets dark. You know, our parents are like, oh, we have kids, you know, it's like they forget that there's any kids there. Yeah. So I think that did kind of make us who we are. We kind of get resilient, you know, and you worry a lot about social media and kids today and the influence, and, you know, are we, like you said, you're raising a human or an adult. So you're both. Yeah. You're trying to make sure that they're going to be able to get through this life, you know, but knowing, like you said, hold on just enough that they know they can always ask or come to you. I think that's kind of what we've tried to do. Just always reminding him that, you know, we're here, you know, if you need anything or need some advice, we're here. But you also want to see your kids, see what they can do, see if they can figure it out, and see what they're going to do that's going to be different from how you made it. So if your kids were here now, what do you think they would say that you still don't get about them?
Oh, good question. Well, I'm not sure because if I don't get it, how would I know what I don't get? Right. But, that's a great question. I don't know. I mean, I think, I kind of do a lot of joking online around like the language the teenager use and what it means. I had a glossary in my first book about like try to translate teenager language, but but the reality is I really don't know. I still couldn't tell you what 6'7" means and all that kind of stuff. So maybe they would say like, yeah, he's like supposedly this like teenager expert, but he's still pretty clueless about some basic stuff.
Well, you're a practitioner, right? You're still you're constantly working in the lab,
right?
What is up with 6'7"? I don't get that either. It's almost like it's like a test from the government, like implanting a phrase that to see if kids will take to it, and if they're gonna some future experiment they're gonna do.
Yeah.
I never got that one. I just still don't get it. I don't understand, but I guess I'm not meant to understand it.
Yeah, no, it's we're not supposed to understand.
Yeah, we're cringy. We don't understand those things. Is there anything just to give people a little tease? Is there a favorite passage out of the book you would like to read? Just
maybe I won't read anymore, but just to let people know a couple more things that are in there. So I mentioned like all of the like crazy stories that dads have shared with me and advice about different stuff. I have a bunch of quizzes in the book as well. So I rate, they're basically to rate how cringy you are as a dad. So the output is measured by my dad meter, which goes from like basic to mid to extra. So, maybe I'll read I'll just give you an example of that. So like, a basic dad behavior would be like, gets to the airport 4 hours early, right? So that's a pretty widespread dad behavior. Mid would be like owns a flashlight the size of a small car, so you're starting to get a little cringier there. And then extra would be like grills during a polar vortex or hurricane. That's like, real dad energy there. So there's a bunch of quizzes around like, what kind of candy you eat or what kind of TV shows you watch that kind of rate you on the dad meter. And
those are great.
Yeah. And I have lots of teenager texts in the book too. So there's stuff that's like stuff sent to dad or about dad. Can you tell, like a lot of them are sent to mom, like, hey, can you tell dad, my friends and I can hear him farting in the bathroom, that kind of thing. Or, and also I include a lot of like the kind of quote unquote dumb questions that dad has to deal with around the house, from the kids, like, hey, are these stainless steel pots microwave safe? Those kinds of questions. So there's
right.
So if you like the first book, What Time Is Noon, which was like all teenager text, there's a lot of that in here as well as a lot of the kind of like funny dad stuff too.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think it's gonna hit home because you've got some of that in there as well, but you've got the new stuff too. So that's gonna, I think, hit the broad audience there for sure. Where you said is it out now, or where can people get it?
So I'm not totally sure when you're airing this, but it's April 21st is when the book's available. So it's available for pre-order as we're speaking now, but it comes out in less than 2 weeks, I think it is, from today. And and you can I have links on all my socials. Whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, it's The Leighton Show, LEIGHTON. And I've also got a website, theleightonshow.com, where you can get to everything. But the book, Dad, Can You Not, is available, wherever books are sold pretty much. So it should be pretty easy to find.
Awesome. And then are you planning some more tours like for the summer or this fall at all?
I'll be doing some events, like not so much a tour, more like, one-offs here and there, but and I'll share that stuff on my socials as it happens. And I'll do some online stuff too, which I'll share. So it's fun kind of getting out there and talking to people about the book, and I'm excited to get it in people's hands and see what they think. I'm really happy with how it came out. But I'm biased. So.
Yeah, well, I was lucky enough to get an advanced copy. It's so funny. I mean, it's so good. It's just, you can't. I mean, when I say it, you can't put it down. I mean, it just leads into the next section. So it's very, very well written and very well put together too. So I encourage people to definitely check it out. So I had a question on the events that you do. Is that like the format? Is it more like stand up, or do you incorporate the book or?
Yeah, I mean, there are different kinds that I do. So, and I don't really call it stand up because it's where I can. I like to use a digital screen, and I have like slides and other like things I share, whether they're from the books or I share a lot of just like teenager texts on the screen. Got to read those. Those are funny, but like it's a range of stuff. I do some stuff that's like around the book launch where I do book signings attached to it and do some Q&A. But I also do some stuff like I've done several events at colleges for like parents weekend kind of events where because the like parents of college students are like the core of my audience. So those are really good to kind of share with in that venue. And I've done like some whatever industry conference kind of stuff where it's just sort of like some fun family friendly humor. It's gone pretty well. I mean, I'm still sort of wrestling with like how much of that I want to do. But it's like it's good where you can find the right audience, and my stuff is very clean, so it works well for whether it's corporate or schools or whatever. So it's that's been a fun thing to kind of push me out of my comfort zone, and I've kind of refined what I do over time. We'll see where it goes from here.
I think it would be, I'm sure, very popular at like, I don't know, registration day at colleges or college events. Yeah,
exactly.
Right into that.
I did a reunion, this past college reunion this last year, I guess it was. I've actually heard of like some schools that have like played my videos at like the orientation weekend or whatever. But like, that's cool. Yeah. So to go do stuff live, I think is a good opportunity that I'm going to pursue further.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, you need to do that. I think that would, it's really going to, as it grows, it's really going to be a hit. I think to see out live. That's great. Well, Dad, Can You Not is the book, and I always love it when you're here. Thank you for coming back, and I hope you'll come back again because I'm sure there's going to be new cringy things to talk about as we go through. So.
Oh yeah, never ending source of content. And I always have enjoyed speaking with you both times, Jason. So thank you again for having me.
Happiness Sold Separately is created and hosted by Jason Hensley and is produced by McCOSH Films. Narration by Lauren Gobis. If you or someone you know is in crisis and needs immediate help, call the National Mental Health Hotline at 866-903-3787. We would be honored if you would rate, share, and subscribe.
Aye, that's a good one.